Good morning. Well, it's coming up to 7 a.m. on Saturday the 6th of July. I'm just setting off on a 200-kilometre DIY by GPS Audax. I call this route Casterbridge and Camelot because today's destination, Dorchester, was referred to as Casterbridge in Thomas Hardy's 1886 novel, The Mayor of Casterbridge. So I'm heading roughly south down through Frome, Stourton, Blackmoor Vale, Sturminster Newton, Piddle Trentide, then into Dorchester. Expect quite a few Thomas Hardy connections en route. In fact, we're going to say hello to the man himself in Dorchester, hoping to have lunch on a small nature reserve I found, actually on a boardwalk. And then the journey home runs parallel to it northwards through Sherborne, past the legendary Camelot. So I'll ask a question there: where does the legend of Camelot come from, and the King Arthur, is there any truth in it? And then up through Evercreech, Radstock, Wellow, and back into Bath along this two tunnels route that I'm just heading out on. So next stop, I'm going to stop at a castle and talk about that a little bit. So I'm now at Farley Hungerford Castle. So the route just does a little bend round to the east and then curves back round to the west. I modified it after originally did this route as a group DIY from Bristol. So the distance I took out I needed to add on, but it's really nice because it brings us past Farley Hungerford Castle. So this is a 14th century fortified mansion, and it was lived in by the Hungerford family for over 300 years. It's now managed by English Heritage, and according to their website, it's got the best example of human-shaped lead coffins in the UK. Well worth a visit. More information on the English Heritage website. So I've just passed down the edge of Stourhead Estate, and I'm now just chilling out here for a few minutes with an ice cream. But a point of interest is this used to be the old A303. The village has since been bypassed by a dual carriageway, but this used to be the old main road, the coach road from London to the West Country, Devon and Cornwall. It's just hard to imagine today's volume of traffic on the A303 coming through here, you know, on their summer holidays to Cornwall. Soon after, a short stretch on the old A303 turns left onto some minor roads entering North Dorset. In fact, here, just right above the entrance to a tunnel. So very shortly going to be dropping down into Blackmoor Vale. A vale, I'm told, is just a very wide expanse of valley. The Blackmoor Vale is widely associated with Thomas Hardy, and it's surrounded by the hills of Cranbourne Chase and the Dorset area of outstanding natural beauty. My favourite part of it, I think for me, is it's where I start picking up the Stour Valley. I absolutely love following the River Stour. I just think it's one of this part of the country's hidden treasures. Well, I'm now in the heart of the Blackmoor Vale, outside the Blackmoor Vale Inn of all places. So I'm in the village of, it's spelt Marnhull, but I used to have a girl from this village and she insisted it was called Marnhull. So Thomas Hardy referred to this village as Marlot in Test of the D'Urbervilles. Interestingly, on this pub's wall there's a sign saying the Blackmoor Vale was Hardy's Rolliver's. Beautiful place. Why do more people not come to this area? It's a gem. So I always stop at the village when I pass through. Just stopped today at Robin Hill Stores and Post Office to get a cold drink. It's warming up already. Such a lovely place is. As I was coming into the village, I came in that way. A biplane passed me. In fact, another plane's just gone over. There's an airfield nearby at Henstridge. It's got a lot of industrial units on it now, but I think it's still used for light aircraft. I guess that's where it was heading. So I'm just entering the busy market town of Sturminster Newton. In fact, my friend told me the locals refer to it as Stir. So this is the old station gardens. They used to be set down in a cutting, but it's since been infilled. So there's a little reminder of its former use. Then in front of us, a very distinctive Hambledon Hill in the Stour Valley. Really like this remembrance garden as well. So Thomas Hardy lived here for a while. He actually wrote here as well, so you do sense you're right in the heart of Hardy's Wessex. So this is an area I plan to explore soon on some of my wild camping trips. This time last year I'd stopped making YouTube movies. I just felt I'd dried up completely. But since my end-to-end, I'm just teeming with ideas. It's like a dam has been breached in my head and all these ideas are flooding out. Maybe that's what idea generation actually takes. Go off in the wilderness by yourself in quite severe weather and take a real hammering and a hiding. So why do I love the River Stour and the Stour Valley so much? Well, I guess it's because of views like this really. Bridge across the river, just south of Sturmetston Newton, looking up at Sturmetston Newton Mill. I'm not going to pop in there today because it actually looks heaving with people, but I do plan a midweek camping trip down this area soon, so I'll share some of my favourite places with you then. As you cross the River Stour and leave the outskirts of Sturmetston Newton, you climb up quite a long drag. You're actually cutting across a corner to Cranbourne Chase. You may tell I'm at the top of the hill because I'm a little bit out of breath. So after crossing the River Stour, south of Sturmetston Newton, you then turn left onto a minor road, and there's quite a long gradual climb up out of the Stour Valley. And you cross over a watershed, then drop down into this. This is the Piddle Valley. Yeah, I mean, there really is a river called the Piddle. I dread to think what the locals call that. I'm sure the origin of the name is innocent and harmless, but I still wouldn't drink from it. So I'm approaching the halfway point of my ride, my destination. There's Dorchester over there. So I join the Piddle Valley Road from Piddle Trentide, and I'm going to continue into Dorchester, a couple of miles away. But when I first did this ride as a group ride, I thought I'd better just recce the route, ride it to make sure it is doable. And so I came down here. It must have been a bank holiday weekend, and there was lots of road closed signs saying Dorset County Show traffic only. And I always figure when roads are closed on a bicycle, it's the probability is you're going to get through on foot, because unless something major like a bridge is out, they're not going to redirect pedestrians 5 or 6 miles. Well, this time it backfired on me spectacularly, because I came down this direction and it was single file traffic, and from that direction, from Dorchester, it's single file traffic only, and it met somewhere here at an entrance to a field, and you couldn't go on and you couldn't go back. So I was forced into this big county show. I remember thinking, oh, this is another fun mess you got yourself into. Then, don't flap, think about how you're going to get out of this. And I figured, well, if they force you into an entrance, there must be a one-way exit. So I started riding through all these fields, and I was asking these people, do you know where the way out is? And of course, most people had just got there, so nobody really knew who I asked. And after about half an hour, I ended up in this big field, completely disorientated, lost my bearings. And that's all the traders were there. And I thought, oh great, they'll probably know. So there's all these gazebos and vans doing burgers and stuff. I must have looked a complete dork, because I was saying in the middle of this big field in the middle of nowhere, excuse me, I'm a bit lost. Can you tell me how to get to Dorchester? So I'm now in very sunny Dorchester, right outside the Teddy Bear Museum. Linda took me in there for my birthday this year because we were staying down there for a few days. So on the first floor is Teddy Bear Museum, and on the ground floor is the Terracotta Warriors exhibition. And it's worth going in there, if for no other reason, to see the film about Chang the Emperor. I don't claim to be clever or knowledgeable in any way, but I am curious and I love learning new things. And I had no idea about the story about Chang before I went in there. Just a lovely place to visit. Just stood on a bridge over the River Frome, and I'm looking up the main street that goes up through Dorchester, I'll be heading right to the top of town actually, and then doing a right hand turn. I'll just detour very slightly to go and have a quick look at the, it's like a castle where it's the old barracks for the Wessex Regiment, and it's the museum now, very iconic building, and it's a symbol for the Dorset county sign. So when you cross that main road opposite the Terracotta and Teddy Bear Museum, you end up on this really nice riverside walk alongside the River Frome, and right at the beginning is the site to the old White Hart Inn. You can still see the old White Hart there. The inn itself has been demolished and it's now private flats. So Thomas Hardy was raised in the area, and he walked past the White Hart on his way to school every day. In fact, he was a customer in there later in his life, and it featured in several of his novels, including Far from the Madding Crowd. So this part of Dorchester is absolutely stunning. There's a walk alongside the River Frome at the bottom of town, and that's how I discovered this little nature reserve with a boardwalk through it. Well, that was a shame. One picnic table and it's been occupied. Not surprised though. Head back to the riverbank. There's plenty of seats along there and some shade as well, to be honest. It's very hot now. So I came back along the riverside walk to have my picnic. To be honest, all the seats are in the sun. They look quite hot. So I've just found myself this lovely little cool spot under a tree, just watching the river flow by. So for my birthday back in February, we stayed down here for a few days. We went to the local tourist office and got a little leaflet with some local walks in. And every morning we'd go for a walk, and that's how we discovered this river walk. I didn't even know it existed before February, even though I've been to Dorchester many times before. So it just shows what you can miss even on a bicycle. And as we were walking along here, we were learning about lots of local places of interest. I mean, for instance, just on the other side of this river is the old jail. I mean, they did executions there, and right opposite on this side of the river was the hangman's cottage. And then further along, there's a really well restored Roman villa. It's got pristine mosaic floors in it. And it's right outside some council offices. Again, I just didn't know they were there. So I've just taken a short detour off the route down the main pedestrian shopping street in Dorchester, just to visit Bartley's Bank of all places, because this building is reputed to have been lived in by the Mayor of Casterbridge, the inspiration for today's ride title. So at the top of the town is the keep, and then it was the barracks for the Dorset Regiment, and it's now the museum of the Dorset Regiment. It's wonderful going in there, and 3 floors of interest, and also there's some spectacular views from the top there. Well, I've had my lunch and it's now time to turn north and head home. Before I do, it just seems fitting that I come and pay homage to the man himself. I'm in this long, high, exposed leg between Dorchester and Sherborne. It's lovely up here today. When the weather's not so good, it's pretty exposed and severe up here. Wow. So to the left is Sir Abbas. In fact, just over the brow of that hill would be the chalk carving, you know, the fertility symbol. So I'm now north of Sherborne. In fact, I'm running on a series of lanes up towards Court and Denham and South Cadbury, and it's just opposite to the west of the road that runs from Wincanton down to Sherborne. It's getting very, very hot, and I was starting to ration my drinks a little bit because I was getting low on liquids. Managed to find an outside tap. It's good sources of water when you're out in the sticks. I find churches quite often have them round the back, you know, to water the flowers, and village halls often do. The main things I abide by with taps from unknown sources are run them a minute or so just in case the water's been sat in there a long time, and always just have a mouthful of water to make sure it tastes okay. Any doubts, just get rid of it. So I'm now on this lovely network of lanes heading up towards South Cadbury. So I'm now approaching South Cadbury, and right in front of us is Cadbury Castle. It's an old Bronze and Iron Age hill fort, widely associated with the King Arthur legend. I'm now in South Cadbury. There's Cadbury Lane. Look, it says, clearly says leading to Camelot Fort. There's even got his own car park along there. How cool is that? So if, like me, you've ever wondered is there any truth or substance to the King Arthur legend, and if not, where did it come from? Well, there's a really good short animated talk on TED. I'm really sorry, I can't remember the name of the presenter, and he makes quite a compelling case. I'll put a link to it in the description below this video. It's only 6.5 minutes long, so it's well worth a watch. So I'm now in the small village of Cole. It's in the Vale, not far from the Somerset town of Castleberry. I absolutely love it here. This is like paradise. Wouldn't surprise me to see a little hobbit walking around the corner with one of those long pipes in his mouth. Just round here. Let me show you a favourite spot of mine. A little bit of paradise. So this is probably my favourite spot in the universe. So I don't know if others have their special places which they feel really attached and attuned to, but this is definitely mine. So just a few miles on from Cole, passing through Lamiat. Love this place as well. All these great signs. Even that bus stop looks like 5-star. I'm now at the top of Maysdown. This is one of the lesser known climbs over the Mendips. The really well-known ones across the West Mendip Plateau are like Cheddar Gorge, Burnton Combe, Ebber Gorge, Wells. This is just equally as hard, and it climbs on up to Dolting. I had not planned to film today. It's very much spur of the moment, ad hoc, so I'm only filming through my camera, getting very low on the battery, and I didn't bring a charging cable out. So I'll finish off here, about 20 miles to go to home, and I'll wrap up when I'm at home with a Guinness and a pizza. So I'm now back at home with a ham and pineapple pizza and a can of Guinness that's been in the fridge all day. In fact, there's 2 in the fridge. So my battery on my phone ran very low earlier on, so I had to stop filming at the top of Maysdown Hill. So after that, I climbed on up to the top of the hill near Stoke St Michael, dropped down into the village of Stoke St Michael. Then there was a final sting in the tail climb up to Holcombe, then drop down to Radstock, back along the 2 tunnels way through Wellow, the 2 tunnels back to my house in Bath. It's been a fantastic day. Really thoroughly enjoyed it. So I've got a few ideas for camping trips coming up, so hopefully you'll keep watching, because I think I've got a few exciting ideas on the way. So as usual, thanks so much for watching, and till next time.